The yearbook slammed shut like a judge's gavel, its glossy cover mocking Elena Rivera with photos of smiling faces that weren't hers. In the dim glow of her bedroom lamp, she traced the empty space on page 147, where her senior portrait should have been, erased like a glitch in the matrix of Evergreen High's so-called perfect memories. "They think they can wipe me out," she whispered to the shadows, her voice cracking like thunder in a too-quiet storm. "But ghosts don't stay buried." Downstairs, the front door creaked open and Elena's heart seized. Eleanor was here uninvited, her footsteps soft but urgent on the creaky wooden stairs of the old Craftsman house in West Palm Beach, Florida, where palm fronds scratched against the windows like accusatory fingers. Eleanor burst into the room, eyes wide with the kind of panic that only comes from loving someone you're terrified of losing, clutching a crumpled letter from the principal's office that smelled faintly of cheap school ink and betrayal. Elena had always known Evergreen High was a pressure cooker disguised as a palm tree paradise. Nestled in the humid sprawl of West Palm Beach, the school was a microcosm of Florida's sun-soaked contradictions. Kids in flip-flops debating college apps while dodging gators in the Everglades on field trips, cheerleaders with spray tans quoting Bible verses at pep rallies, and a student body that worshipped football gods more fervently than any deity. It was the kind of place where family values meant blending into the pastel stucco walls, where being different was like wearing a neon sign in a blackout. Elena Rivera, 17 and counting the days until graduation like a prisoner etching tallies on a cell wall, had learned that lesson the hard way. With her thrift store docs scuffed from skateboarding the cracked sidewalks of Clematis Street, and her auburn curls perpetually escaping a messy bun, she stuck out like a punk rock riff in a country ballad. Her mom, Rosa, a Cuban-American nurse who chain-smoked menthols on the fire escape after double shifts at Good Samaritan Hospital, had raised her on stories of resilience. Tales of abuelas who crossed oceans with nothing but grit and guava paste. "Mija, the world tries to erase you but you redraw the lines," Rosa would say, her voice thick with the accent that turned river into river. Elena clung to that, even as the world sharpened its eraser. It started in sophomore year, in the fluorescent hell of Miss Hargrove's English Lit class, where dog-eared copies of The Great Gatsby yellowed on desks scarred with carved initials. That's where Elena first noticed Eleanor Hayes. Eleanor, with her long black waves that caught the light like spilled ink and eyes the color of storm-tossed Atlantic waves, was the girl who quoted Auden like it was small talk. Daughter of a yacht club lawyer dad and a pedia president mom who hosted fundraisers in their waterfront McMansion, Eleanor embodied the effortless grace of Old Palm Beach money. Khaki skirts pressed crisp, pearl studs glinting like secrets. But beneath that polish was a quiet rebellion. Dog-eared poetry books tucked into her Kate Spade tote, sketches of lighthouses in her margins that whispered of escapes to nowhere. Their eyes met over a shared edition of Giovanni's Room, Baldwin's words hanging heavy in the air like humidity before a squall. "You ever feel like you're living someone else's story?" Elena had murmured during a group discussion, her voice barely above the AC's hum. Eleanor's gaze lingered, a spark in the stale classroom air. "All the time," she replied, her southern drawl softening the edges like sweet tea on ice. "Like you're the footnote they forgot to write." From there it unraveled like a loose thread on an heirloom quilt. Study sessions in the library's backstacks turned into stolen glances over Catcher in the Rye. Late-night texts pinged like fireflies. Elena sending grainy photos of graffiti under the I-95 overpass, "Queer as folk, baby," and Eleanor replying with voice memos of her reading A. Cummings, voice husky from whispering in the dark. By junior prom they'd crossed the line in the salt-scented shadows behind the Royal Poinciana Playhouse, lips brushing tentative as sea foam, hearts pounding to the distant thump of bass from the dance inside. It was love, raw and reckless, the kind that blooms in secret gardens under moonlit mangroves. They carved their initials into the trunk of the banyan tree by the intracoastal waterway, E+E, entwined like vines, promising whispers of forever that tasted like stolen mangoes from Rose's backyard. Elena taught Eleanor to skateboard on the abandoned lots off Flagler Drive, knees scraped and laughter echoing off graffiti-covered warehouses. Eleanor slipped Elena mixtapes of Indigo Girls and Tracy Chapman, songs that wrapped around them like humid air, heavy with unspoken truths. In those moments West Palm Beach felt less like a cage and more like a canvas. Sunsets bleeding pink and orange over the water, the distant hum of cruise ships a lullaby for dreamers. But secrets in a small town are like alligators in the canals. Silent until they snap. Evergreen High buzzed with its own ecosystem of whispers. The cheer squad, led by blonde bob Brittany Klein, whose daddy owned half the real estate on Worth Avenue, ruled the social strata like benevolent dictators. Brittany's crew enforced the unspoken code. Straight, white, wealthy, or at least pretending. Elena and Eleanor's bubble held until the fall of senior year, when the yearbook committee posted sign-up sheets in the quad, under the rustling fronds of sabal palms that dropped husks like warnings. Elena posed for her senior photo in the gym, the photographer's flash popping like gunfire. She wore her favorite flannel over a band tee, curls tamed for once, a defiant smirk playing on her lips. "Make it count," she joked, thinking of the blank page waiting for her story. Eleanor had been there, fidgeting in the bleachers, her fingers twisting the hem of her sundress, eyes bright with pride. Weeks later, the proofs arrived in homeroom, passed around like contraband. Elena's heart swelled when she saw it, her face captured mid-laugh, eyes crinkling with the joy she'd fought to claim. But that night, as she and Eleanor sprawled on a blanket by Peanut Island, trading sips from a thermos of spiked Arnold Palmers, the first crack appeared. Eleanor's phone buzzed incessantly. Texts from Brittany, emojis of raised eyebrows and question marks. "It's nothing," Eleanor dismissed, silencing it with a kiss that tasted faintly of lime and lies. Elena let it go. Because love is blindfolding yourself to the storm clouds gathering on the horizon. The betrayal slithered in like Spanish moss, slow and suffocating. It was homecoming week, the air thick with the scent of funnel cakes and fresh-cut grass on the football field. Elena and Eleanor had planned to ditch the dance for a midnight paddleboard under the stars, but Eleanor begged off last minute. "Family dinner. You know how Mom is." Elena went alone to the pregame bonfire, the flames leaping high as cheers for the Eagles drowned out her unease. There, in the flickering orange glow, she overheard it. Brittany's voice, shrill as a mosquito, cutting through the laughter. "Did you see Eleanor cozying up to that Rivera girl? Swear it's like she's forgotten who she is. Daddy would flip." Laughter rippled, but Elena's blood turned to ice. She slipped away, heart hammering, and drove her beat-up Civic to Eleanor's house on the water. The mansion loomed like a white elephant, lights blazing from the party inside. Chandelier glow spilling onto the manicured lawn. Peering through the hedges, Elena saw her. Eleanor, arm linked with Brittany's, head thrown back in a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. No stolen glances, no secret codes, just assimilation polished and poisonous. When Eleanor spotted her, the color drained from her face. She excused herself, slipping out the side door, the silk of her dress whispering against the stucco. "What the hell?" Elena hissed, voice low but laced with venom, the bonfire's embers still warming her cheeks. Eleanor's eyes darted like minnows. "Elena, please, it's not what it looks like. Mom's here, the whole yacht club. I can't come out yet. Not like this. Not like this." Elena echoed, the words a punch to the gut. "What, because I'm the poor kid with the queer poster child vibe? Or because loving me means losing your throne?" Tears stung, hot as the Florida sun, but she blinked them back. Eleanor reached for her hand, fingers trembling. "I love you. God, Elena, you know that. But this town, it eats you alive if you're not careful." The argument fractured like seashells underfoot. Accusations flying, defenses crumbling. Elena stormed off, tires squealing on the oystershell drive, the banyan tree's initials mocking her from the rearview. Days blurred into a haze of avoidance. Eleanor leaving notes in Elena's locker. "We need to talk." That Elena crumpled like her resolve. The yearbook proofs circulated and whispers followed. "Rivera's photo? Yeah, they pulled it. Principal's orders. Image issue." Elena confronted Ms. Hargrove after class, the English teacher's cat-eye glasses slipping down her nose as she sighed. "It's not personal, Elena. The committee voted. With the rumors. They want the book to reflect the school's values." Values. The word tasted like bile. That night, Rosa found her curled on the couch, yearbook clutched like a shield. "Mija, what happened?" Elena broke then, sobs racking her frame as she spilled it all. The love, the secrecy, the erasure. Rosa held her tight, rocking like she had after Elena's first heartbreak at 12, over a girl who moved away. "They can erase the picture but not the girl. You're etched in stars, not paper." The next morning, Elena marched into Principal Whitaker's office, the air conditioned to Arctic chill, plaques of Educator of the Year gleaming like false halos. Whitaker, a balding man with a mustache that screamed 1980s cop show, steepled his fingers. Miss Rivera, this is a delicate matter. Parent complaints, concerns about appropriateness. The yearbook represents our community. Your community, Elena shot back, voice steady as rebar. Mine's the one you airbrushed out. She slammed the proof on his desk, the blank space a void screaming louder than words. Whitaker's face reddened. Watch your tone. This could affect recommendations. It did. Rumors metastasized. Elena tagged as trouble. Her college essays questioned. Teachers averting eyes in the halls. Eleanor tried to bridge the chasm. Texts pleading. A desperate note slipped under Elena's door. I was wrong. Meet me at the Banyan. Please. But trust once shattered cuts deeper than glass. The climax brewed like a hurricane off the coast, winds whipping fronds into frenzy. It hit during the senior assembly in the auditorium, stage lights harsh as interrogation lamps, the entire school crammed into rows of folding chairs that creaked under restless bodies. The yearbook reveal was the centerpiece. Brittany ascending the podium in a peppy red dress, unveiling the mock-up projected on the screen behind her. Cheers erupted as pages flipped. Football heroes, prom queens, club presidents. Elena sat in the back, arms crossed, Rose's words a talisman. Redraw the lines. Then page 147. Gasps rippled. Blank. Not even a placeholder, just white space, a digital guillotine. Brittany faltered, microphone feedback screeching like a banshee. Technical glitch, she stammered, but the projector betrayed her. Cycling back to Elena's proof photo for a split second, curls wild, smirk proud before vanishing again. Chaos ignited. Whispers swelled to shouts. Elena stood, heart a war drum, and the room hushed as she climbed the stage steps, docs thudding like judgments. That's me, she said into the mic, voice amplified to fill every corner. Elena Rivera. Erase because I love who I love, a girl. Because I'm not your cookie-cutter success story. Tears traced paths down her cheeks, but her chin lifted, defiant. You think you can delete me? I'm in every late-night text, every stolen kiss under the palms. I'm the queer kid who survived your values. And I'm not going anywhere. The auditorium fractured. Some boos sharp as slaps. Others applause tentative then thunderous. From the wings Eleanor emerged, face ashen. Eyes locked on Elena's. She grabbed the mic, voice breaking. She's right. I was part of this. Scared, selfish. I let them convince me to stay quiet. But Elena? She's braver than all of us. Gasps again. Eleanor's coming out, raw and real. A seismic shift in the fault lines of Evergreen's facade. Principal Whitaker rushed the stage, face puce, but it was too late. Phones captured it all, videos flooding TikTok and Insta by the final bell. Erase no more trending from West Palm to DC. Protests sparked. Rainbow flags on lockers, petitions circling like sharks. Rosa arrived post-assembly, wrapping Elena in a hug that smelled of hospital antiseptic and home. My star, she murmured, pride fierce as a flamenco dancer's stomp. But betrayal's aftershocks lingered. Eleanor waited by the banyan that night. Rain sheeting down in tropical sheets, turning the ground to mud. Elena approached, soaked to the bone, the tree's roots a tangled witness. Why? Elena demanded, rain mingling with tears. After everything. Eleanor stepped closer, drenched sundress clinging, vulnerability etched in every line. Because I was ashamed of them, of me. But seeing you up there? Broke something open. I love you, Elena. Not the idea, not the secret. You. She pressed a small wrapped package into Elena's hand. A leather-bound journal, pages filled with Eleanor's sketches. Their initials in ink, lighthouses guiding through storms, Elena's face immortalized in pencil strokes. Elena hesitated, the weight of forgiveness heavy as the downpour. It hurts, she admitted, voice small. Like you carved out my heart and framed it. I know, Eleanor whispered, pulling her close. Rain washed them clean, or at least started to. They stood there, entwined as lightning forked the sky. A promise fragile but electric. The fallout from the assembly was a Category 4 whirlwind, ripping through Evergreen High with the force of a nor'easter slamming into fragile dunes. By Monday, the parking lot was a battlefield of bumper stickers. Love winds slapped over Eagles Fly High, and news vans idling like predators outside the chain-link fence. Local outlets, from WPTV's morning anchors to the Palm Beach Post's op-ed pages, dissected the yearbook scandal with the glee of vultures at a roadkill buffet. Elena's face, defiant, tear-streaked, plastered every feed, her story a viral ember igniting national conversations on erasure and resilience. School suspended, Whitaker called an emergency faculty meeting in the cafeteria. Fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets over Formica tables sticky with ghost stains of spilled slushies. Elena wasn't invited, but Eleanor was, summoned as witness in the unfolding drama. She sat ramrod straight, knuckles white on her chair arms, while teachers lobbed questions like softballs. "Did you know about the photo pull?" Hargrove asked, her voice a scalpel. Eleanor nodded, throat tight. "Yes. And I didn't fight it. That's on me." Brittany, sidelined to a corner table with her squad, shot daggers, her empire cracking under the weight of irrelevance. Whispers painted her as the puppeteer. Leaks to the committee, parent emails forwarded with concerns about moral decay. But Brittany's denials rang hollow. A screenshot surfaced on the student Slack, her text to the yearbook advisor. "Rivera's pick? Veto. Makes us look bad." The advisor, a mousy junior named Tim who dreamed of journalism glory, cracked under pressure, spilling to the Post. It was a group decision, but Brittany pushed hardest. Elena, meanwhile, holed up in Rose's shift-covered apartment above a laundromat on Dixie Highway. The rumble of dryers a white noise bomb. Friends trickled in: Jaden, the non-binary theater kid with blue-streaked hair and a wit sharper than safety pins, bearing vegan empanadas from the Cuban spot on Belvedere. Mia, the soccer captain whose Mexican mom ran a food truck empire, armed with printouts of allyship resources from GLSN. They sprawled on the sagging couch, binging the L-word reruns for catharsis, laughing through tears at the outdated drama. "You're our Shane," Jaden teased, tossing popcorn. Elena snorted, but the ache lingered. A hollow where trust used to nest. Eleanor texted nonstop. "Can I come over? Please. I need to make this right." Elena's thumb hovered, warring with the ghost of that homecoming laugh. Finally she replied, "Library. After school. Neutral ground." The West Palm Beach Public Library, with its vaulted ceilings and mahogany shelves groaning under tomes of forgotten histories, felt fitting. A sanctuary of stories that refused to be shelved. She arrived early, the AC a crisp reprieve from the November mugginess, settling into a corral by the Florida history section. Books on Seminole Wars and citrus barons flanked her, their spines cracked like old promises. Eleanor slipped in 10 minutes later, hair damp from a sudden shower, carrying 2 iced lattes from the corner Starbucks. Oat milk for Elena, a peace offering in foam art swirls. She slid into the opposite chair, eyes shadowed with sleepless nights. "I quit the committee," she started, voice low. "Told Whitaker if they don't reinstate your photo, I'm out. Publicly." Elena sipped, the cold biting her tongue. "And Brittany? You're ride or die." Eleanor's jaw tightened. "She cornered me in the bathroom today. Called you a phase I needed to outgrow. I told her to go to hell." A beat, then softer. "Elena, I betrayed you. Not just by staying quiet, by letting fear choose for me. My parents. They found out after the video. Dad threatened to cut me off, ship me to boarding school in Switzerland. Mom cried, quoted Leviticus like it was a shield. She swallowed hard. But losing you? That's the real exile." The words hung, heavy as the humid air outside. Elena traced the grain of the wooden table, memories flashing. Eleanor's hand in hers during a midnight drive to Jupiter Inlet, waves crashing like applause, the way she'd hum closer to Fine while braiding Elena's curls on lazy Sundays. "I want to believe you," Elena admitted, voice cracking. "But what if the next storm hits? Do I get erased again?" Eleanor reached across, fingers brushing Elena's, tentative, electric. "Then we build the dam levees together. No more hiding." She pulled a folder from her bag, manila edges worn. Petitions, already 200 signatures strong from students, teachers, even the janitor who'd seen too many kids fade into the walls. "And this council meeting next week. We're presenting. You, me, the crew." Elena's laugh was watery, relief cracking the dam. "Us against the machine? Sounds like a bad indie flick." "The best kind." Eleanor grinned, that old spark flickering back. But drama like the tide ebbs only to surge. That night, as Elena walked home under streetlights buzzing with moths, her phone lit up. Not Eleanor's warmth but an unknown number. A voice memo from Brittany. You think you're a hero, Rivera? Check your email. Driet coiled in Elena, escut. The attachment. Scans of old texts, Elena's own words. Miss you already, babe. Can't wait to kiss you under the stars. Pulled from Eleanor's phone, screenshotted and annotated like evidence in a witch trial. Brittany's note. Share this and your romance goes nuclear. Or pull back and we forget the yearbook ever happened. Betrayal's sequel. Eleanor had shared the phone for backup. During a sleepover plea for advice. Brittany, ever the opportunist, had cloned it in secret. Elena's hand shook as she forwarded it to Rosa, who cursed in rapid Spanish, hija de puta, before hugging her fierce. We fight dirty too? No. We fight smart. The next day Elena didn't confront Eleanor. Not yet. Instead, she channeled the rage into action, rallying the misfits in the quad under the bell tower's shadow. Jaden unfurled a banner, visible and valid, painted in day glow on bedsheets. Mia live-streamed, her feed exploding with supporters from Miami to Orlando. By lunch, the petition hit 500, hashtags pulsing like a heartbeat. Evergreen erased, queer in here. Eleanor learned of the leak from a mortified confession. Her phone history wiped, but the damage viral. She burst into the quad, face streaked with mascara rivers, dropping to her knees before Elena. I didn't know. Swear on everything. The crowd hushed, phones out, but Elena knelt too, cupping Eleanor's face, gentle, forgiving in its ferocity. Then prove it. Stand with me. All the way. They did. The city council meeting in the historic courthouse, columns like weary sentinels, air scented with jasmine and justice, was standing room only. Elena spoke first, voice steady under the chandelier's glow. This isn't about one photo. It's about every kid who feels invisible. Erase us and you erase your future. Eleanor followed, tears unashamed. I was complicit, scared of losing privilege. But love? It demands everything. And Elena deserves that. Whitaker squirmed in the front row, Brittany absent. Rumor had her grounded. Daddy's law firm distancing. The council, a mix of silver-haired retirees and young progressives, voted unanimously. Reinstate the photo diversity training mandatory, a task force on inclusive policies. Cheers erupted, hugs exchanged, Rosa beaming from the back like a proud lighthouse. But victory's glow dimmed in private shadows. Walking the moonlit beach at midnight pass, Elena and Eleanor kicked at shells, the Gulf's whisper a confessor. What now? Eleanor asked, toes digging into cool sand. Elena laced their fingers. College. NYU for me if the essays stick. You to Emory, poetry slams in Atlanta. Visits. Mixtapes 2.0. Eleanor stopped, waves lapping their ankles. And us? Long distance feels like another erasure. Elena pulled her close, salt air mingling with shampoo. Then we write the sequel. Chapter by chapter. Their kiss was slow, deepening like roots in fertile soil. Romance reborn. Not in fireworks, but in the quiet promise of dawn over the water. Yet drama lingered. A undercurrent pulling at the seams. Brittany's final strike came via anonymous Instagram. A deepfake clip. Elena's face morphed onto a protester at a pride rally. Caption Evergreen's troublemaker exposed. Views skyrocketed. Comments a cesspool of vitriol. Elena's phone blew up. Harassment calls, slurs scrawled on her locker in Sharpie. Rosa fielded calls from the school counselor, voice steel. My daughter needs protection, not platitudes. Eleanor, fury incarnate, traced it to Brittany's IP tech-savvy cousin's doing. She didn't leak. Instead, she organized a counter. Student-led forum in the gym, mics open, stories shared. Kids poured out. The trans freshman dodging bathrooms, the biathlete benched for distraction, the ally silenced by fear. Brittany slunk in late, face gaunt, but when called to speak she cracked. I was scared too. Of not fitting. Sorry doesn't fix it, but it's a start. Apologies like sandcastles washed away too easy. Elena accepted with grace but boundaries firm. Earn it. The forum shifted something seismic, Whitaker announcing the yearbook redo. Elena's photo not just restored, but centered on a new Voices page. quotes from her speech etched below. As December's chill nipped the palms, rare for Florida, but magic nonetheless, Elena and Eleanor volunteered at the library's teen lit program, shelving books with spines that bent but didn't break. One evening, as kids chattered over graphic novels, the head librarian, Ms. Patel, a wiry woman with henna tattoos peeking from cuffs, pulled Elena aside. "Heard your story. The council mentioned it. We've got a wall local heroes. Think you'd fit." Elena blinked, the wall a mural of framed portraits. Activists, artists, everyday rebels who'd shaped West Palm. Me? I'm just a hero, Eleanor interjected, squeezing her hand. Miss Patel nodded. Your face hangs here now. Reminder that stories endure. The hanging was intimate. A Friday dusk, golden light slanting through arched windows, a small crowd. Rosa with tamales, Jaden with a playlist, Mia filming for posterity. Elena's portrait, painted by a local artist from her yearbook proof, curls alive with brushstrokes, eyes alight with fire, unveiled with a velvet cord pull. Eleanor hung it herself, nails bitten to stubs, whispering, "Now they can't erase you." Elena traced the frame, glass cool under fingertips. "Us," she corrected. "Ours." Winter break descended on West Palm Beach like a soft rebellion. Strings of fairy lights twinkling in banyan branches, holiday markets on Clematis Street hawking ornaments shaped like flamingos and conch shells, the air alive with carols remixed with salsa rhythms from food trucks. For Elena it was a breath, a pause in the maelstrom, but the emotional undercurrent still tugged, pulling at the fragile piece she'd stitched with Eleanor. They spent New Year's Eve on Peanut Island, ferried over in a rickety water taxi that bobbed like a cork in the harbor chop. The fortress ruins loomed shadowy, remnants of wartime secrets now playground for lovers and loners. Elena spread a picnic, Rose's arroz con pollo in Tupperware, Eleanor's ginger snaps from the family recipe box. Under a sky bruised purple with dusk, fireworks popped distant from Singer Island, but they ignored them, content with the bioluminescent glow of waves crashing nearby, each crest a fleeting blue spark. "Resolutions?" Eleanor asked, leaning into Elena's shoulder, the wool of her sweater rough against Elena's cheek. Elena pondered, plucking a snap. No more half-truths. Full color all the way. She turned, eyes searching Eleanor's. "And you?" "Bravery school," Eleanor quipped, but her smile faltered. "Actually, telling my parents. For real this time. No more tiptoeing." Elena's heart clenched, pride warring with the echo of old wounds. "You sure? They could disown me?" "Yeah." Eleanor shrugged, but her voice wobbled. "But you're worth the wreckage. We both are." The kiss that followed was a vow, lips tasting of spice and sugar. The island's isolation a cocoon. They talked until stars wheeled overhead, dreams of New York garrets for Elena, scribbling zines on queer history. Atlanta lofts for Eleanor, MFA in creative writing, poems that punched like Elena's speeches. "We'll make it," Elena murmured, tracing Eleanor's palm with a fingertip. "Like those lighthouses you draw, steady through the fog." Back on the mainland, reality reasserted with a vengeance. Elena's acceptance letters arrived in crinkled envelopes. NYU with a full ride, contingent on continued leadership, a nod to her activism. But attached, a counselor note, Whitaker's doing, questioning her stability post-scandal. Rage simmered anew. Eleanor faced her own gauntlet. Family dinner in the dining room's crystal and silver glare. Parents' faces tightening as she laid it bare. "I'm gay, Mom. In love with Elena. And I'm done pretending." The explosion was biblical. Dad's fork clattering, Mom's sobs echoing off crown molding. "This phase," he blustered, veins bulging. "Elective identity crisis." Eleanor stood, chair scraping. "It's not a phase. It's me. And if you can't love that, we're done." She walked out, crashing at Jaden's, the fallout a media blip. Palm Beach heiress comes out amid school uproar. Brittany, in a twist of contrition or calculation, reached out via DM. Heard about Eleanor. "Sucks. Truce?" Elena deleted it unread. Forgiveness a bridge, not a welcome mat. But the girl showed up at the library hangings follow-up event, a teen book drive, hovering awkward by the donation bins. "I was a bitch," she said flatly when Elena approached, arms crossed over a too-loose sweater. "Scared of my own shadow. Dad's affair blew up last year, Mom's pills everywhere. I lashed out. At you. Elena studied her. The cracks in the armor, vulnerability raw as peeled sunburn. Doesn't excuse it. No. Brittany nodded, eyes down. But I'm trying. Therapy. Apology tour. She handed over a check. Anonymous donor. But the handwriting matched her mom's. For your scholarship fund. Whatever. Elena pocketed it. A olive branch gripped loose. Actions, not words. Show up. Listen. The semester's end brought catharsis. Graduation under the stadium lights, gowns billowing like sails in the breeze off Lake Worth Lagoon. Elena walked the stage to pomp and circumstance, laced with whoops from her crew, diploma in hand, Rosa filming through happy tears. Eleanor's name followed, her parents absent but a card waiting. Proud, complicated love. Call home. The yearbook, reprinted, rushed, thumped into hands. Page 147, now a mosaic. Elena's photo flanked by quotes from Baldwin, Lord, and her own words. Erased? Nah. Indelible. Post-ceremony, the real celebration unfolded at Rosa's. Backyard strung with Edison bulbs. Grills smoking with lechon asado. Neighbors spilling onto the lawn with coolers of craft IPAs and jars of moonshine sangria. Jaden DJ'd a set blending Bad Bunny with Billie Holiday. Bodies swaying under the stars. Elena and Eleanor slipped away to the fire pit. Embers winking like conspirators. To us, Eleanor toasted with plastic cups of fizzing punch. The footnotes that became the book. Elena clinked, but her eyes misted. What if it's by? What if life erases us again? Eleanor pulled her close, firelight dancing on their faces. Then we rewrite. Together. Human mess and all. The summer unfurled lazy and luminous. Internships at the LGBTQ Center in Wilton Manors. Road trips up the coast in Elena's Civic. Windows down to the roar of A1A. Eleanor sold a poem to a lit mag. Ode to the erased. Elena's smirk immortalized in verse. Betrayals faded to scars, tender but healed. Reminders of growth's cost. Fall arrived with suitcases packed. Airports a blur of hugs and promises. At Palm Beach International, Rosa enveloped them both. Miss Nina's fly high. While Jaden and Mia catcalled from the curb. Elena boarded first, New York calling like a siren. Eleanor lingered, their goodbye kiss, airport public unashamed. A statement in the terminal's fluorescent hum. Months later, a package arrived at Elena's village walk-up. Eleanor's journal, new entries added, sketches of NYC skylines, notes from phone calls that bridged the miles. Tucked inside. A press frond from the banyan, initials faded but enduring. Missing you. Redrawing lines. Elena hung it by her window, where Brooklyn brownstones met the sky. In West Palm, the library wall gained a companion portrait, Eleanor's, unveiled in a quiet ceremony. Her waves captured midlaugh, a quote beneath. Love is the boldest story. Whitaker retired early, Hargrove took his post, policies rewritten in inclusive ink. Brittany transferred to community college, volunteering at a crisis hotline. Her redemption a work in quiet progress. Elena's face, once erased, now anchored the library's hall. A beacon for the next kid with a secret, a skateboard, a spark. She visited over breaks, tracing the frame, Eleanor's hand in hers. The drama had forged them. Not flawless heroines but human, flawed, fierce, forever entwined. In the end, erasure was just a chapter. Their story? Epic, ongoing. Etched in the salt and sun of a Florida heart.